The first thing to remember is that ego is the most negative phenomenon in existence. It is like darkness. Darkness has no positive existence. It is simply absence of light. Light has a positive existence. That's why you cannot do anything directly with darkness. If your room is full of darkness, you cannot put the darkness out of the room. You cannot throw it out. You cannot destroy it by any means directly. If you try to fight with it, you will be defeated. Darkness cannot be defeated by fighting. You may be a great wrestler, but you will be surprised to know that you cannot defeat darkness. It is impossible for the simple reason that darkness does not exist. If you want to do anything with darkness, you will have to go via light. If you don't want darkness, bring light in. If you want darkness, then put the light off. But do something with light. Nothing can be done with darkness directly. The negative does not exist, so is the ego. People go on carrying things that they hate. They live in their hatred. They go on fingering their wounds so they don't heal. They don't allow them to heal. Their whole life depends on their past. Unless you start living in the present, you will not be able to forget and forgive the past. I don't suggest that you should forget and forgive all that has happened in the past. That is not my approach. I say, live in the present. That is the positive way to approach existence, live in the present. That is another way of saying, be more meditative, more aware, more alert. Because when you are alert, aware, you are in the present. Awareness cannot be in the past and cannot be in the future. Awareness knows only the present. Awareness knows no past, no future. It has only one tense, the present. Be aware, and as you start enjoying the present more and more, as you feel the bliss of being in the present, you will stop doing the stupid thing that everybody goes on doing. You will stop going into the past. You will not have to forget and forgive. It will simply disappear of its own accord. You will be surprised. Where has it gone? And once the past is there no more, future also disappears, because future is only a projection of the past. To be free from past and future is to taste freedom for the first time. And in that experience, one becomes whole, healthy. All wounds are healed. Suddenly there are no longer any wounds. You start feeling a deep well-being arising in you. That well-being is the beginning of transformation, because the ego does not feel good at ease with molehills. It wants mountains. Even if it is misery, it should not be a molehill. It should be an Everest. Even if it is miserable. The ego doesn't want to be ordinarily miserable. It wants to be extraordinarily miserable, either this way or that. One wants to be the first. Hence one goes on making mountains out of molehills. People go on and on, creating big problems out of nothing. I have talked to thousands of people about their problems, and I have not come across a real problem yet. All problems are bogus. You create them because without problems you feel empty. Without problems there is nothing to do, nothing to fight with, nowhere to go. People go from one guru to another, from one master to another, from one psychoanalyst to another, from one encounter group to another. Because if they don't go, they feel empty, and they suddenly feel life to be meaningless. You create problems so that you can feel that life is a great work, a growth, and you have to struggle hard. The ego can exist only when it struggles, remember, when it fights. The greater the problem, the greater the challenge, the more your ego arises, soars high. You create problem. Problems don't exist. And now, if you allow me, there are not even molehills. That too is your trick. You say, okay, there may not be mountains, but there are molehills. No, not even molehills are there. Those are your creations. First you create molehills out of nothing, then you create mountains out of molehills. And the priests and the psychoanalysts and the gurus are happy because their whole trade exists because of you. If you don't create molehills out of nothing, and then if you don't make your molehills into mountains, what will be the point of gurus helping you? First you have to be in a condition to be helped. Please look at what you are doing, what nonsense you are doing. First you create a problem, then you go in search of a solution. Just watch while you are creating the problem. Just exactly in the beginning, when you are creating the problem, is the solution. Don't create it. But that won't appeal to you, because then you are suddenly thrown flat upon yourself. Nothing to do, no enlightenment, no satori, no samadhi, and you are deeply restless, empty, trying to stuff yourself with anything whatsoever. You don't have any problems, only this much has to be understood. This very moment you can drop all problems because they are your creations. So have another look at your problems. The deeper you look, the smaller they will appear. Go on looking at them, and by they will start disappearing. Go on gazing, and suddenly you will find there is emptiness. A beautiful emptiness surrounds you. Nothing to do, nothing to be, because you are already that. Enlightenment is not something to be achieved. It is just to be lived. When I say I achieved enlightenment, I simply mean that I decided to live it. Enough is enough. And since then I've lived it. It is a decision that now you are not interested in creating problems, that's all. It is a decision that now you are finished with all this nonsense of creating problems and finding solutions. All this nonsense is a game you are playing with yourself. You yourself are hiding and you yourself are seeking. You are both parties. And you know it. That's why when I say it, you smile, you laugh. I am not talking about anything ridiculous, you understand it. You are laughing at yourself. Just watch yourself laughing. Just look at your own smile. You understand it. It has to be so because it is your own game. You are hiding and waiting for yourself to be able to seek and find yourself. You can find yourself right now because it is you that is hiding. That's why Zen masters go on hitting people. Whenever somebody comes and says, I would like to be a Buddha, the master gets very angry. The person is asking nonsense. He is a Buddha. If Buddha comes to me and asks how to be a Buddha, what am I supposed to do? I will hit his head. Whom do you think you are fooling? You are a Buddha. Don't make unnecessary trouble for yourself. And understanding will dawn on you if you watch how you make a problem bigger and bigger and bigger, how you spin it, and how you help the wheel to move faster and faster and faster. Then suddenly you are at the top of your misery and you are in need of the whole world's sympathy. You are a great problem creator. Just understand this and suddenly problems disappear. You are perfectly in shape. You are born perfect. That is the whole message. You are born perfect. Perfection is your innermost nature. You have just to live it. Decide and live it. If you are not yet fed up with the game, you can continue, but don't ask why, you know. The why is simple. The ego cannot exist in emptiness. It needs something to fight with. Even a ghost of your imagination will do, but you need to fight with someone. The ego exists only in conflict. The ego is not an entity. It is a tension. Whenever there is a conflict, the tension arises and the ego exists. When there is no conflict, the tension disappears and the ego disappears. Ego is not a thing, it's just a tension. And of course, nobody wants small tensions. Everybody wants big tensions. If your own problems are not enough, you start thinking about humanity and the world and the future, socialism, communism, and all that rubbish. You start thinking about it as if the whole world depends on your advice. Then you think, what is going to happen in Israel? What is going to happen in Africa? And you go on advising and you create problems. People become very excited. They cannot sleep because there is some war going on. They become very excited. Their own life is so ordinary that they will have to get extraordinariness from some other source. The nation is in difficulty, so they become identified with the nation. The culture is in difficulty, the society is in difficulty. Now there are big problems and you become identified. You are a Hindu and the Hindu culture is in difficulty. You are a Christian and the church is in difficulty. The whole world is at stake. Now you become big through your problem. The ego needs some problems. If you understand this, in the very understanding, the mountains become molehills again, and then the molehills also disappear. Suddenly there is emptiness, pure emptiness all around. This is what enlightenment is all about, a deep understanding that there is no problem. Then, with no problem to solve, what will you do? Immediately you start living. You will eat, you will sleep, you will love, you will have a chit-chat, you will sing, you will dance. What else is there to do? You have become a god, you have started living. If there is any God, one thing is certain. He will not have any problems. That much is certain. Then what is he doing with all his time? No problems, no psychiatrist to consult, no gurus to go and surrender to. What is God doing? What will he do? He must be going crazy, spinning. No, he is living. His life is totally full with life. He is eating, sleeping, dancing, having a love affair, but without any problems. Start living this very moment, and you will see that the more you live, the fewer problems there are. Because now that your emptiness is flowering and living, there is no need. When you don't live, the same energy goes sour. The same energy that would have become a flower is stuck. And not being allowed to bloom, it becomes a thorn in the heart. It is the same energy. Force a small child to sit in the corner and tell him to become completely immobile, unmoving. Watch what happens just a few minutes before. He was perfectly at ease, flowing. Now his face will become red because he will have to strain, hold himself. His whole body will become rigid, and he will try to fidget here and there, and he will want to jump out of himself. You have forced the energy to sit still. Now it has no purpose, no meaning, no space to move, nowhere to bloom and flower. It is stuck, frozen, rigid. The child is suffering a death, a temporary death. Now, if you don't allow the child to run again and move around the garden and play, he will start creating problems. He will fantasize. In his mind, he will create problems and start fighting with those problems. He will see a big dog and he will be afraid, or he will see a ghost and he will have to fight and escape from it. Now he is creating problems. The same energy that was just flowing all around a moment before, in all directions, is stuck and becoming sour. If people can dance a little more, sing a little more, be a little crazier, their energy will be flowing more and their problems will by and by disappear. Live, dance, eat, sleep, do things as totally as possible. And remember again and again, whenever you catch yourself creating any problem, slip out of it. Immediately, once you get into the problem, then a solution will be needed. And even if you find a solution, out of that solution, 1,001 problems will arise again. Once you miss the first step, you are in the trap. Whenever you see that now you are slipping into a problem, catch hold of yourself. Run, jump, dance, but don't get into the problem. Do something immediately so that the energy that was creating the problems becomes fluid, unfrozen, melts, goes back to the cosmos.